So welcome to the fifth recording of my podcast as I lost my ego and was found by myself. My topic today is ego and mind. One of my favorite sparring partners the last decades. Yes, at first I will describe my understanding of the mind, and yes, so if I standing anywhere, maybe in a city, looking at somewhere, and I see an incident, something is happening, and something is happening, but there is constant change. But the mind cannot grasp, my mind at least, constant change. So I have to take a picture with my mind. And now I'm not looking anymore to the constant changing, I'm looking at my picture. And my mind says, oh, I understood. That happens. That's the incidence. And it's very interesting, the word understanding. So the mind brings constant changing to a stand. And now I have a standpoint. In German, it's the same. Verstehen. Stehen means standing. And in German, it's not the standpoint, it's Standpunkt. So I know the truth about this incident. So perhaps a few meters beside me, another man or woman is standing, is looking also at this incident, and with another background, a little bit another viewpoint, he or she also said, I take my picture. I have understood what happened. And now I turn around, looking at the person, and said, oh, this was so and so. And another person is looking at me and said, oh, no, it's quite different. And I say, I am right. The other person said, oh, no, I am right. That's the truth. I said, no, that's the truth. And conflict is arising. So that's the madness, in my understanding, of the mind. Not dealing with the constant changing around me. No, a picture and my imaginary truth is arising. And that's the madness of the mind. And if I look around me in the world, this is the world of the mind. The mind has ruled for centuries or for thousands of years mankind. And the mind is the sidekick of the ego. And now the ego can grow. And who is, even for me, for the last 50 years, who was in charge? Not consciousness. No, it was the mind. And these days I can recognize 3 sidekicks yet for the ego. It's the mind, it's separation, and emotions. About that I will talk later. So, the mind is the king of the duality. His main tool or weapon is separation. And there are two turbo accelerators for the mind, and the mind loves adjectives and pronouns. So these are mine and more. So in a way, every time, that's also a word which doesn't exist. What is every time? So I say there's a rule, and every time this or that happens. How could I knew? And then, this is the best. The mind says, exception are bestätigen. I don't know the rules. So this is crazy, because if there is exception, there is no rule. But no, the mind says, oh, yes, even there is exception, the rule is functioning. Hey, how could that be? And in a way, every time, that's the mind, I use an adjective, I'm separating. Separation is arising. So, for example, today I was on the beach. Mind says, beautiful beach. So he has separated. So there is an awful beach, maybe dirty or whatever, and a beautiful beach. And this is, or perhaps that's the fourth sidekick of the ego, the wanting. The mind says, as he has separated everything into duality, into two parts, one part I want, the other part I avoid. I have a resistance. And sorry, that creates the world or the illusion of duality. I cannot feel anymore oneness because mind is separating everything into two. Now he says, oh, that's what you want. So go for it. Run. Try to achieve it. In my experience, that has created my suffering. Duality, the world of the mind, separating everything, that is what Buddha said life is suffering. And there is another weapon of the ego or the mind, it's hiding. So the last 30 years I was unconscious. I didn't realize what's going on. That's the mind and the ego. They hide. They do not be honest and said, oh, I've captured consciousness. Consciousness was perhaps in charge, and consciousness, in my experience, is the only one who is in charge. No, it was the mind. But I didn't realize it because mind and ego were hiding. They don't want to be seen, what they are doing. I felt often in my life some kind of being on autopilot or being controlled by the mind or the emotions. I'll talk later about it. But this was not in my consciousness. I felt that this is something strange happening, but in a way, if mind and ego are in charge, I wasn't able to change anything. And that I felt this irritation. Behaving strange. Okay, there is willpower, and I have tried to control. And I failed and failed and failed. Efforting. No. I wasn't able to change these patterns. I was controlled by the hiding mind and the hiding ego. And that's the good news. No, not that I had been controlled, but the good news is, and that again is in the duality, there is a way out of it. So I'm here, I want to be out of it, but nevertheless. So that's just feeling and looking at the mind, the ego, and the emotions. And then they are defenseless. They can't do anything about it. They don't want to be seen. And now, these days, I just look at them. And the 3 decades before, I wasn't able to do that. I just wasn't able to it, and so I behaved strange. I did harm to people I love. But, no, I'm butting at you. I feel no guilt. Neil Dworskin of the Sedona method said, if you feel guilty, you start to punish yourself, and you will never end punishing yourself. So the past is past. That's not an excuse to behave harmful. No, not at all. But the past is the past. And the mind said, oh, look back. What have you done? That's useless. I can't change the past. And I'm very happy, and yes, that I don't do that. Some people in my surrounding, they live in the past. They are reliving and reliving their traumas. They pull them out of their little bags and fuel at them, and again and again and again. They suffer endless. They cannot break this pattern. So that's one tool of the mind, looking at the past. The other tool is, and that happens to me a few weeks ago, looking in the future and creating problem after problem which might happen. So my mind did this to me, endless cycles of uh, disasters. And the funny thing is, no one of these disasters have happened. So all my suffering was meaningless. And in a way, as soon as my mind goes into the future and creates these illusionary problems, it's for nothing. But the ego, oh, I'm protecting you. I find a solution, the mind says, for these imaginary problems. So what? There's a saying that of Hale Dworskin, of the Zeduma method, he says, the mind is telling you that he will solve the problem he has created himself. And I add, and he creates greater problems, more problems. And then he says, oh, let us find the solution for this not new problems. And this goes on and on. Look what people does to nature. Or, in my opinion, nature, the gift of the divine, has all solutions. But what does the mind? Oh, I take a little tiny bit of it, I make an artificial solution out of it, and then I give it to you to solve your problem. And in my opinion, this won't work. This isn't working. So now this new creation creates new problems. And the mind says, oh, I have another solution for you. So, looking in the future, looking in the past, the mind can create separation of separation, an endless line of separations, and so duality is reinforced and reinforced. So the mind says to me, oh, there's the goal. You will be happy if you achieve it. I was efforting, I was working hard to achieve one goal after another. And where was the happiness? Where was the freedom? I couldn't find it. And then the mind says, oh, just the next goal. Then it will happen. Then you will be happy. And the mind is very sophisticated. He not only tries to control me, the mind says, oh, you have to control other people so that they behave to your wishes. And yes, in the last fugues, I recognized this. I was in my family. In the last decays, I was not really seeing my beloved. I was acting and relating to a picture I have taken from them. But they still are changing, as I am changing every moment. But I have this picture. So maybe the beloved one has become quite different. But no, I've made this picture, I'm right about you. So I lost in a way the connection, the relationship, that's the true relationship. relationship. If there is a true relationship, there is an untrue relationship. So separation is arising. That's the word of the mind. And even love, wonderful love. One of my teachers said, unconditional love. Oh, I said, unconditional love. How I can achieve that? I am here and unconditional love is there. So if there is unconditional love, there is conditional love. And I am back in the world of mind, not just being love. No, this love has a character. This love is judged by the mind. And judging is another great tool of the mind. I noticed this when I, for example, going to work, I drive by train. If they are still driving in Germany the trains, that's not guaranteed, but when I leave the train, a lot of people are floating towards me and I was walking through them and my mind is judging. I don't even know these people. And my mind is just judging of the picture of them. What a nonsense. What a craziness. And as I'm a mechanical engineer, I have a very well-trained mind. I call him a fighting dog on testosterone. He every time he's biting new information. Oh, can I count it? Can I weight it? Which characters? Where can I put it? Can I read more about it? Another little example. I love woodworking. I have a little workshop, and so in former times when I was walking through the forest, I didn't feel the trees. I saw the trees in, how do you call it, in pieces. So for woodworking, what craziness. A tool, and yeah, tool is a wonderful being. No, a tool is not a wonderful being. A tool is a tool. A tree is a wonderful being. Now I can feel them. And these days, I just had a picture of them and which cupboard or table I can cut out of them. So walking in the forest, I was cutting them in my mind in pieces. What craziness. That's the mind. So, what a madness. Now, consciousness is often my companion. And then maybe the questions, who was teaching me this last 3 years? In a way, my whole spiritual life, I was waiting for my teacher. I felt there is one waiting for me. I didn't understand that, I had just a feeling. So I waited. No craving, no searching. I knew one day he will appear. I could feel that. So, by surrendering to my self, I didn't realize that in this years, I was teaching by myself. It was myself which was guiding me. And this was beyond words. I expected one so teacher and said, da 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 da, you should do this, you should that. I would say, I've waited for this wisdom. I have to do this or that. No, it was quite different. As I became still and stiller, as I surrendered more and more. Oh, the mind is more and more. No, just surrendering. The self guided me through my process. So I couldn't emphasize it enough. It's my truth. I can feel that there is an endless line of other beings having their process. It might be similar to mine. Perhaps it's the same, I don't know. So I don't say this is the truth. No. And I don't try to apply it to you. No. This is my truth. And the only thing I can do, is it doing? Sharing, is it doing? When the mind kicks in, then it's doing. As long as I feel myself, I love this myself. As long as I feel myself, talking is not doing. Talking is being. Talking is feeling. As soon as I use words like you should, you must, or mustn't, or I go in the future, this will happen. To you, how could I know what you will do? No chance. So, as I will repeat endless, it's about feeling, surrendering, and releasing. And the ego is defenseless. It can't do anything about it. My ego, I look at my ego and it dissolves. It's still there. The mind is still there. The mind still tries to create problems for me. So sometimes the mind caught me. Then I have problems. Then I'm suffering. So what? Sooner or later, consciousness is knocking at my door. And I recognize, the mind has created a problem for me. Nice guy. Really nice guy. The ego is back in charge, ruling my world, trying to control me. But no. Consciousness is. Being is. And in a way, feeling is for me oneness. It's the gate to oneness. If I feel, the mind disappears. I think I've told already about it. Try it. No, I don't say what you have to do. If I feel my body sensation, I cannot think the same time. Mind disappears. And if I judge the feeling, if I want them or resist them, separation is arising again. And I'm back in the madness of the mind. If I go into, if I accept and embrace everything which might arise, a body sensation, an emotion, a picture is arising, and that I realized a few days ago, as I'm meditating in the evening and the so-called unpleasant emotions arise, I only recognized it a few days ago. There was no suffering. I had a lot of pains, unpleasant sensations, unpleasant emotions, fear, grief, anger. But I didn't suffer. So why I didn't suffer? Because I embraced them. It doesn't matter which so-called character. This is the adjective, the judging of the mind. He says, oh, pain is awful. I don't want it. Get rid of it. Ignore it. Push it aside. And that's another point. The mind has so much power if you give it to him, that even if I had in my daily life pain and I was caught and totally in the mind, I didn't feel the pain anymore. And then the mind is coming a little bit down and pain was again there. So powerful is the mind. But if I leave judging, categorizing, or describing whatever is manifesting in my body, the resistance and the wanting is gone. And resisting and wanting, they create the suffering. They create duality. It's so simple. These days I thought perhaps all these spiritual masters which I had, perhaps they just told me that. I don't remember. So, but this is not. Did they tell me that? No. Vipassana was different. In Vipassana, you were training your equanimity. Or now I was training my equanimity. Scanning my body, observing, yes, that's it, observing the sensations. Here's the observer, there's the sensation. They are separate. I don't say, perhaps if I had remained in the Buddhistic tradition, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I didn't. I changed. I was attracted to Qigong, and then to non-duality. And these days I'm recognizing or seeing in a way that everything which happened to me was like adding pearls to a necklace, which is still open, pearl after pearl. The exact impulse I needed was coming at the right time for me. So in a way, consciousness was guiding me. And even I told about my personal waterfall, which I couldn't avoid, where I fell and crashed. And even that was a gift. The emotions were so overwhelming, yes, doesn't matter, that I couldn't control them anymore. And I opened to them. And like waves, whoosh, they were going over me again and again. And just opening and in a way embracing them, they were coming down. Now I see this was the first crack, tiny little crack in my ego. Doing this, the ego was defenseless. Opening, embracing. That's all. And not unfortunately, fortunately, I wasn't going into the future. So I don't let my mind create horrible scenarios what might happen. In a way, knew I have had no control. What will happen, will happen. So, in a way, I followed the current of life. Maybe I was rowing to avoid the big stones in front of me, not bumping against them and getting or being hurt by them. I tried to avoid them. I tried to control them. I even tried to control the emotions of my children. I thought I had protected them. Now I knew, no. In a way, I don't let them feel their emotions, and even if you don't talk about it, they feel it. And even not in the consciousness, the unconsciousness is knowing. And so I couldn't say I helped them putting this drama or the trauma into their consciousness, but yes, I did it. And now these days, it's obvious that was not a good solution. That was not a solution at all. But the mind, oh, he controls everything. He persuades you. I will find a solution. I will create a solution for for you and your beloved? No. This made it worse. Yes, that's the mind. Creating endless separation by judging, by dividing, adding adjectives to anything. It's not a car, it's a beautiful car, it's my car. And more, I want a bigger car, 2 cars, 3 cars, countless cars. That's the madness of the mind. And the easy way out of it, it took me, yes, as I was controlled by the mind and the ego, my so-called progress, my development was, okay, that's again the mind judging. Very slow, I wanted to say, but I say it anyway. It was slow. And to remain in the word of duality, I said the last 3 years, the development was explosive. And not by me trying to understand, not by me asking the mind or letting be in charge. No. By surrendering. Yes, just by surrendering. That's the madness of the mind. Always telling you, I will solve your problems. No. Just look at him. No, not just you. I'm not youing. I'm meing. I just looked at him and said, oh, nice try. I don't buy problems you are creating for me. Now I'm recognizing or can feel they don't even exist. Not every time. Sometimes. And again, it's the feeling which guides me. So if a conflict is arising or the mind tells me there is a conflict, and the conflict is arising because the mind is telling me, oh, my ego, it's about me and mine. I need more. I am right. And often there is an emotion, and I had this body sensation, and I feel the body sensation, and then I say, nice try. I gave the mind and the ego a little pat on the back of the head and said, I see you. I feel you. Consciousness. Yes, just consciousness. And consciousness is arising. The mind couldn't exist anymore because consciousness is beyond duality. In consciousness, I feel both. Everything and nothing exists at the same time, and the mind cannot exist there. He only can exist if he can separate things. So, self is arising, ego is dissolved, mind is dissolved. They just cannot exist anymore. And that's the good news. So, feeling, surrendering, embracing, releasing is beyond wanting or resistance. They cannot exist there. And therefore I say, this is for me the portal to oneness. Being. Just being. And then the current of life dissolves. The illusion of the mind dissolves. It cannot exist in oneness, in consciousness. There it's again duality, in consciousness. No, but it doesn't matter. It's just dissolving. So, in a way, it's the self feeling itself. It's consciousness feeling consciousness. No separation. But there is this feeling that that I have experienced it's the only, and if I say part, I say part. It's the only part of my being which remains. It's duality, so it's feeling oneness. It's feeling oneness itself. I am feeling myself. I am loving myself. That's it.